So I have a question about classical dance, which I think now is a slightly under level. And but do you feel that classical dance evolves, changes, or both? And what is standing stronger, that teachers, for example, or coaches, they make more strength and technique when they teach the dancers, participants to perform classics, or actually they work with individualities?
Well, I think over time, right, so we've seen the ability of the dancer changing, the ballet dancer changing. And I think we continue to see that, right? The technical executions may be different than they were maybe a decade ago. So I think it is evolving in its own right. I would personally like to see more evolution of ballet and pushing the boundaries a bit more within the training systems. Personally, that's what I'd like to see. And more development of the artist. And I think you and I talked about that a little bit. How do you simultaneously work on the technical execution and the artistry as well, so that they come together and, you know, sort of define who that individual is?
Yeah, it's a great answer. Thank you, Melanie. I guess we are opening Pandora box
Yes,
in this
yes.
case. The way that, for example, we were brought up, our generation, from Vagana training and cultural training, which is exactly the same, that older masters, they have more knowledge to teach individual and pull character and the soul of the dancer. So it's not like you're changing a technique, but you're actually working with potential person who is going to present high quality of dance. Again, we're going back to teachers. So the teacher who teaches or coaches has to work with the person who stays or stands in front of him or in front of her, because ballet, that we do have a structure, but why one person will like and another person will like less, because one person produces to be incredible artistic. So it's really up to teacher, because young people don't necessarily know how to do and what to do. Including me when I was young, the same thing. I didn't know that what I produced, but it's a teacher's job, really. That's where we're going to go. Anyone else?
I was just thinking of how much the male dance technique developed. If I just look back 20 or 30 years and what so many dancers can do now. There were always superstars, don't get me wrong, right? But to see so many male dancers excel and be technically, well, more than proficient, be excellent. What I think I've seen and what bothers me is the changing of musculature in the upper body, where a lot of there are quite a few bulky guys where with the range of motion is compromised, and I'm wondering where that comes from. That weight room aesthetic that I feel gets in the way of a classical line and of my learned aesthetic, I guess. And I have a hard time to relearn when I'm looking at that bulkiness.
I'm still thinking about the difference of what you were saying between evolution and change, and I've been trying to figure out if I had to put a word on it, what that is. And I think evolution is something that maybe happens without much thought. It's the game of telephone. Everybody who is subtly evolving a thing doesn't set out to do that. They think that they're doing it the way they remember. They think that they're passing it on the way they remember. But from the outside, we can see that actually it's not exactly the way it was. But they don't know that. They're doing the best they can with the information they have. Change, however, I think is when somebody sets out on purpose to make a difference in some way. And so when we talk about the technique of classical dance, I think there's a lot of evolution that has happened.